Welcome to the Grace Fellowship podcast. We are so excited that you're here listening with us. We hope that today's episode will inspire and equip you to know and follow Jesus.
Welcome to the Grace Fellowship podcast. I'm so excited to get to host today. And we're talking this morning with Pastor Rocky, who spoke yesterday at Grace. I hope you enjoyed it. I thought it was a great message. It was a very timely message. So we're going to be looking at kind of what he talked about yesterday. We've been talking about this good steward, and really kind of what we laid down as far as the idea of good steward. Is that a good steward faithfully manages everything that God has given to you for God's purpose and His glory. So that's really kind of the foundation of the series is that what we have to steward is more than just treasure, as we talked about last week, but time, which I think is incredibly important too, and we'll get to in a second. But it was a good day yesterday at church. Before we dive into all that, I think it was a really good day. For those who don't know, there's been a battle going on in our kids' ministry. Do you need to explain what that battle is?
It's under investigation right now because there were some irregularities and some integrity issues yesterday.
I don't know that you should go that far. I think integrity is intact.
I think I am going to go that far. I think I am going to go that far.
So here's the thing. There's been a battle going on, and between the girls' side and the guys' side. And if the guys' side won, Rocky would get slimed. If the girls' side won, I got slimed. Now, last week when we shot the final week video, the boys were barely behind.
And I don't know if it was barely but they were behind.
They were barely behind. And yesterday the boys came through, and so I was grateful.
And it's kind of ironic how yesterday I was unable to go in there and motivate the girls at all because I was on the stage, which you strategically placed me on the stage for that day while you roamed around and rooted on your team.
You had 3 weeks to root for your team. This was my 1 week to get to root for mine. I'm just saying.
I want to recount.
Yeah.
I want to recount, but I am getting slimed tomorrow.
Yes, you are. So excited for that. The kids were excited for that too. We're all excited
every Sunday there would be a kid that would meet me in the lobby and say, "You're getting slimed." So it worked.
I love it. I love it. Pastor Gabe and the team have a good time back there. So yesterday you talked about time and stewarding your time. And here's the thing about this resource that I always find fascinating. You can make more money. You can develop and even new talents, grow in your talents, right?
Yep.
But this is the one that nobody gets more, nobody gets less.
Once it's gone, it's gone.
That's kind of what you talked about yesterday, when you led off, is that, man, you get the same amount of time. And really the question is, what are you going to do with it? And yesterday you gave out clocks, right? Which was kind of symbolic of saying, hey, everybody's given time. And there were different clocks, so everybody gets different time.
Not necessarily the different time, seasons. But different seasons.
Different seasons of time. And I thought it was pretty, interesting because I think what I leaned into when I started thinking about just the seasons, we're all in a different season. Mm-hmm. And depending on our season depends on, like, you got to the end, we'll get to the end in a minute, but just how we see that season.
Yes.
When you think back in the seasons of your life, like, I don't know, from early ministry to, like, when I tell you what, but you and Christy first married, that season, like, when you think back to that season, what were your favorite, if you look back, your favorite memories or the way that you felt like you could use your time because of that unique season that as you had kids and family and like, how is that season back then different than the season you're in today?
Oh, wow. When Christy and I got married, I was already working at a church.
Yeah.
And she felt just as much called to ministry as I had.
Yeah.
As I was. And so when we got married, we were already in a season of doing student ministry. It was on an internship type of deal, but we were all in.
You were getting paid.
I was banking. Yes. That was an amazing first Christmas.
I'm sure it was.
Actually, it was because all the things we got for our wedding gifts, we took back, or not all of them. We took back what we got doubles of.
Yeah.
And so that year we got to spend all the money that we took back. And so it was actually a really good Christmas, but we hadn't had a good one like that since then. But it was more of a focus time for us. And then once kids entered the picture, which was amazing, our seasons sped up. We were hoping for sleep and everything, and then it just continued. And now we're in an empty nest situation. And I absolutely love this season. Not because I don't like being with my kids. Okay, I get to see my kids regularly and my son-in-laws, but it also allows us free time to invest in our relationship with each other, but also in other people. And so, to me, I love the season I'm in right now.
Yeah. Now, when you're a parent of the little ones, and I mean, I'm talking like 5 and below, or that age, what was that? How was that season like? Because I know there's some who, when you go through that season, that's a lot.
Yeah.
You're not sleeping as much as you might have been. Like, when you think through that, if you're talking to someone who's in the middle of that season right now and maybe tempted to go like, I can't wait for this season to be over, what would you say about that season that you'd want to encourage them with?
And I know it's kind of cliche and we hear it all the time. The days drag on, but the years fly by.
Yeah.
At that age. Because I remember there was times when they'd be sick or things wouldn't be going well, and it'd be just like, man, when are they gonna go to sleep? When are they gonna be potty trained? When are they gonna, and you're just kind of like, this is dragging on forever. And then all of a sudden it's over, and then you go to the next season, and you look back and it's like, that really wasn't that long.
Yeah.
You're looking at it was a stomach bug for 2 days, and it felt like it was 2 years, but now you look back on it, it's like, that was really not that big of a deal.
Right.
And so that's for me, those times flew by when I look back at them. But in the midst of them, I was kind of like, I was like, oh my goodness, it's never going to end. And so that's for back in that age group. Now, also taking advantage of those times when the kids are, when I came home from work and they wanted to play, and I didn't want to play. I was ready to lay down and rest and to actually engage and get on the floor, go outside and play on the playground or whatever it looked like, just spending time with them. I would do anything right now to be able to play shoots and ladders with my girls again. Yeah. It just, you look back at that and you're like, at the time, I'm like, oh my goodness, we want to play this again. And now I'm looking back and I'm going, man, I wish I could play this again. Right. So that season flew by.
And I think that goes back to the whole be intentional piece, right? Mm-hmm. Because those are the moments that's what you mean by being intentional. You may not have deep theological conversations with them at that age, but you get to build deep relationships with them at that age that set up a platform, really, the foundation for the conversations that you get to have one day.
Yeah, right? You're building that relationship and that element of trust.
Yep.
And for future.
Yeah.
And so that was huge.
So there's many who are in a different season, the teenage season, if you will. And I'm just telling you, I'm blessed with great teenagers. Like I thank God all the time. My teenagers love the Lord. Like, yeah, they have their moments, but like they're great guys. They're great young men. And I think you had.
And it's only going to get better.
Yeah. Well, and that's what I love. But what would you say what does it look like to be intentional in that season?
Our girls were amazing. They were great. Yeah. In the grand scheme of things, they were easy. But there was some moments where they liked to get a little sassy.
What?
Yeah. And they were a little strong-willed, like their mom.
Oh my!
But it was, for us, the biggest thing about that season was when we had our boundaries, we had our guidelines, we had things that we held to, but we also maintained the conversations.
Yeah.
And we gave them the freedom to be real.
Okay. Now, when you say maintain the conversations, explain that. I know what that means, but I don't know that everyone does.
We continue to have conversations with our kids that started around the candy land and the chutes and ladders when they were little. And we kept having those conversations, even into the time frame where the conversations got a little bit more deep, a little more difficult, things that they were struggling with and wrestling with as they were going through school, things that they were experiencing at school that they had never seen before. Having those conversations and giving them the freedom to come in and say, hey, Mom, Dad, I saw this today, or this person said this today. It gave them it let them know, hey, we'll talk about anything.
Yeah.
And as we could be freaking out on the inside.
Yeah.
But on the outside, oh, really? They really? Yeah. They said that today? So how'd that make you feel? And on the inside, I'm going, oh, my goodness.
Yeah. You're not freaking out, but you're freaking in.
Literally. Yeah. But so we were able to maintain those conversations. and that relationship where they trusted us.
Yeah.
And so that season was great.
Yeah.
But there was just some things that happened during that time frame that were just difficult for them to grow through and us to grow through.
Yeah. So we at Grace, we talk a lot about, parents being intentional to help develop the faith of their kids, especially during that season.
Mm-hmm.
What are ways that parents can be intentional during that season of life? Because I don't know, there's some push and some pull when they get to the teenage age, just spend on the family and what's going on. But what are ways that parents go, man, I want to be intentional to help? Because I think we're really intentional. I mean, it's natural to be intentional. Our culture applauds being intentional about helping develop their athletic ability or their, all that stuff, which I'm not. I mean, I like to do that for my kids when I can as well. And so that's not a shot at it, but what are ways that in that season we can be intentional with the time that we have when it comes to helping develop the faith of the next generation at home?
Yeah. And I look back, I'll be honest with you. I look back and I'm like, okay, I could have done a lot better.
Yeah.
There's just some things that I felt like after the fact, when they graduated, went off to college, I look back and I'm critical of myself a little bit. And
really?
like, yeah.
Y'all don't know this about Rocky. Rocky, well, he's his biggest critic. Yeah. But anyway.
But at the same time, one of the things, there was multiple things that I felt like Christy and I did well. One thing is my girls knew that my time with God every day was important.
Yeah.
They saw me have my time with God. They knew that I'd wake up and have my quiet time. I'd talk to God. I'd read the Bible.
Yeah. So you're modeling what it looked like to follow Jesus, not just telling them.
Yeah, and that was modeled for me with my dad and mom. And so there was that model there. And we didn't lecture, we didn't preach, we didn't do anything like that, but they knew that was a vital part of my life. Now they knew I worked at the church too, so they knew that. But the other thing was for us, and it was at times it was a struggle, is getting them involved in the church. Yeah. Not just coming on Sunday mornings and sitting there in a service. And I think our youngest had a little bit better of engagement than the oldest one did. Our oldest one, we were at the Alliance campus,
yeah.
And that was a little different. And
you're at a different school that didn't necessarily have a lot of people feeding into
not into
Grace.
the Grace here in Paradise. And so it was a little different for our oldest one. But I mean, she still was engaged in our student ministry program. But our youngest one, she had some life group leaders, some group leaders that really stayed in touch with her all the way through college.
Wow.
And one of them in particular actually was one of her bridesmaids, and checked in on her, was able to have those conversations that she wouldn't listen to mom and dad on, but she would listen to Shiloh. Yeah. And so it's one of those, for us, getting them engaged in other relationships outside of mom and dad only.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and I think that's key, and that's why I want to hit on it is there's a lot of people being intentional with their time in that window, right? Y'all are intentional about trying to make sure they're involved, and those who are serving, and this is why I love the way we do ministry here at Grace. Some may not know this, but every area pretty much drives people to small groups because we truly believe sometimes life choices will happen in crowds, but life change happens in community. Mm-hmm. It's in relationship with other people, and that's what you got to see with Shiloh, who was intentional about saying, "Hey, I'm going to serve, I'm going to invest," and it wasn't just show up and check the box. She was invested and stayed invested, and developed that relationship, and so love that, love just that story of being invested because. And it goes back to your deal. It's people being intentional. So then I want to go to the next phase-ish of life. That's the young adult phase, or the early college or early graduated college phase. What does it look like to be intentional? What are ways that? Because here's what's interesting: is there's a study showing that's the generation coming back to church right now. That there's more of those who are coming back. So along those lines, I think that we're seeing some of that intentionality because there for a little while it was this idea of they would disappear from the church until they had kids and they came back. Right? But so what does it look like to not lose that season of life
for my kids or for in general? Just
in general. Because I know you've been working with some young adults who are plugged in here, and there's a young adult group that's growing. I heard y'all had 45 at the Friendsgiving last week, which
Thursday. Yeah.
Pretty exciting, dude.
Yeah. We had a lot of fun. And it was neat to see. I think with that group, they have to have a reason to come. They're not just interested in coming and sitting down and listening to somebody talk to them.
Yeah.
They want to be involved in what's going on.
Yeah.
They want to be serving. They want to step into maybe like a relationship of leading a small group or being engaged in a small group, being that relational element. Yeah. And so I think that generation's looking for more than just being told their do's and don'ts, the religious thing they're supposed to do. And they're asking questions. They really are. They're asking questions. Some come from a church background. Some are just checking it out. Yeah. And they need to have a space where they can ask questions. Yeah. And we got to be okay with that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, for sure.
And not freak out over the questions they're asking, and really just dialogue with them and let them work through it. Let them process that. Some are coming back to the faith. Some never had it. And there's a lot of things out there right now on social media that are like skewing it a little bit. Yeah. And so it's good for them to have a place to process it all.
Yeah. Cause I mean, it's important for anyone to understand that just because you see it on social media and they use scripture, doesn't mean it's still true or they use scripture the right way. Remember, Satan with Jesus used scripture trying to tempt him to do the wrong thing. So he knows scripture as well as anyone does, and he will use it and skew it. And so when you
to know the scripture,
important to know the scripture. And when you hear something that sounds, I've never heard that before, that doesn't go along with, it should at least give you a yellow flag to say, all right, slow down, let's check out, let's ask somebody who's maybe been on the journey a little bit longer. Because I think those questions are important because the enemy is going to use truth. He can't create. He takes what God's already made and he distorts it and uses it to deceive. And so I think that's one of the things. So you talk about be careful how you live. You get married, like get invested, invest in your kids like you and your wife did. Then you become empty nesters. What would you say to those who are empty nesters? What's the challenge to them? Like, that passage you read yesterday from Ephesians 5, it starts out with be careful how you live, like this warning, right? What does it look like to be careful how you live and to be intentional, making the most of the opportunity? Because it's a different opportunity as empty nester than it was in previous seasons. Yep. So what does that look like? What's the warning or encouragement or challenge you would give to empty nesters? And
I think that one of the things that I see is with empty nesters, they kind of take a step back and think, well, my job's done.
Yeah.
I've got them off. I've got them moved off. Now I can it's all about me, and I can begin to do what I want to do and do all the things that we never got to do when we had kids at home.
Yeah.
And just really check out from anything intentional in life and just making it all about what I want to do.
Wow.
And I hate that because really at that point in time is when you have so much more to give. You have more flexibility, and you've gone through a lot of stuff.
Yeah,
you've gone through the younger years with kids, and the middle years with kids, and the older years with kids, and most likely you've been married for a while, and so you've learned through your marriage and how to stick it out, and all those things, and so you have so much more to give. But then you say, well, I've already done my part, so now I'm just gonna it's just gonna be what I want to do, and that's the worst thing you can do, honestly, and just to be honest with you, because you have an opportunity to turn around and invest in all those different people that are behind you, that are coming behind you, that are longing for someone to say, okay, how can I do this better? How can I be intentional with my kids at this age? How can I make my marriage better now? Yeah. And so I think that empty nesting stage for us right now, that's what it is.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's good for people to understand that doesn't necessarily mean that you have a ministry to, this is our ministry. No, you just have a relationship with people. And as you're walking through those relationships, it naturally happens. I think that's where there's sometimes a misunderstanding there. Is people are like,
well, you invite them to lunch. You go to lunch with them. You invite them over to your house, or you just engage with them. I know my wife loves the young moms that have kids in those early preschool and elementary age. And that's just, she takes them to lunch every now and then, has coffee. She engages them. It's not an ongoing structured thing that she has with them. She just has a relationship. And so that's, to me, I love it. I love this time of life.
Yeah. So Rocky, yesterday you talked a little bit about where you sometimes lose time, that you find yourself caught on the scroll.
Yeah, let me hold on a second.
Yeah. Phones aren't bad, right?
No.
They're not terrible, but are there some guardrails that people can have, or some, like, what does it look like for someone?
Don't ask me that question. Chris, I don't know.
Yeah.
I mean, I know what I can say I can do.
Yeah.
For a while I said, okay, after 9 o'clock, I don't have my phone's put on a charger and I'm not looking at it. I turn off all devices at 9 o'clock or something like that.
Yeah.
And then there's a football game on, so I turn my TV on.
That's right.
I have taken social media off my phone.
Yeah.
Which is easy to do.
Yeah.
And, but I still have games on there.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I can still just get on there. Actually, I lied. I'm sorry. I took Facebook off. I still have Instagram on there, and that's where I scroll.
Yeah.
And that's where I get lost in the
scroll.
Yeah.
So here's what I was thinking. We intentionally set time limits, like parental controls on my kids' phones, my boys' phones. Which parents, by the way, you can do that. It's super easy, and I highly recommend it. All the studies and research show. I'm just saying, look, as a student pastor for years and years, even before it was to what it is today, all the studies were showing, hey, this is not good. This is, you're literally allowing their brains to be fed poison, and it's not good. And why do you think that there's the rise? And now they've got
anxiety,
so they've got all this. But my thing as I was thinking through that, is what's good for my kids, why would that not be good for me?
Literally.
Right? Like I can put controls where on any app where it says I only get.
Can you really?
Yes.
Can you show me how to do that?
Yes. I only get this many minutes a day on these apps.
Oh, sweet.
And legit, or even a series of apps, like all the games or all the social media, like you can say only this many minutes. And I just wonder, because for me, several years ago, I was reading a book that made me go, I wonder how much screen time I spend. And then I looked at it and I was like,
scary. Yeah.
Oh my gosh, I spend that many hours a day. And then I did the multiplication for a week, and I was like, I'm losing literal days on my phone. And man, so that was where it started for me, and it changed the way I did a lot of stuff. But I think it's one of those things. That's what it looks like to be intentional with your time, to do kind of a time audit, where you go, where am I using my time, and is it the best way? We talk a lot of time about this as an executive team. Is all right. Hey, are we using the time, or times in meetings, is this the best way for us to use, and how to use our time? How do we better utilize the time that we have? And I think a time audit is really important. What would you say? What does it look like for somebody if they want to say, I'm going to do a time audit? What would it look like for someone to do a time audit?
For me, I would, because I'm a paper guy.
What?
Okay? Yes, I'm a paper guy. I would have a piece of paper that has Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday on it, and I would just write down when I do things.
Yeah.
And then go back and look, and evaluate where I spent my time. Now, the hard part about that is you got to be honest.
Yeah, you can fool yourself all you want.
You can lie to yourself and say I spent this amount of time working, but actually during that time you're checking text messages, you're looking at your phone, you're doing this, that, and the other. But really just looking at it. And I think one of the other things that would benefit is ask your spouse, how do you think I'll use my time? And
they'll be honest.
Yeah, they'll be very honest. And even your kids, if you give your kids the freedom to be honest with you, because how many times does a kid you see grab their parent's face and say, "Hey, look at me! Quit looking at your phone."
Yeah.
And we're just teaching them that.
Yep.
So I think the time audit it needs to be done regularly, not just on an occasional basis. But how can you better utilize your time? What can you get up earlier? Can you go to bed earlier? Can you turn off devices at this time? And just schedule, not be robotic. I mean, you can overschedule and make it where you're just not fun to be around.
Yeah.
But you need to do at least check to make sure you're not wasting too much time.
Yeah. Yeah. You talk about, being on our phone all the time, kids, whatever. Mm-hmm. We're talking, a lot of times our kids, it's one of the first things they want to do is look at their phone, and it's like, well, Where'd they get that? Us.
Yeah.
Like,
Go to a restaurant.
yeah.
Go to a restaurant and just look around. It's not. We used to think it was just the kids, but now it is everybody at a table. They're not talking to each other.
Yep.
They're looking at their phones.
Yeah, which kind of goes to the second piece of, you had be intentional, but be relational. Why do you think people struggle to be relational these days? Why is that a struggle?
Honestly, we don't know how to be relational anymore.
Yeah.
We don't know how to have conversations. I struggle.
Yeah.
We don't. We were talking about being relational with God in yesterday's message, but even beyond that, part of making the most out of our time, taking advantage of the opportunities, is to be relational with other people.
Yeah.
And whether that's having a conversation with someone at a grocery store or setting aside a time to have coffee with a friend. I think one of the things for me, and I'm huge guilty of it, my mom lives in Louisiana, and I need to call her on a more consistent basis.
Yeah.
And I'll text her every now and then. And I've been here recently quite a bit, but I need to be intentional in that relationship with my mom.
Yeah.
And you can't do that if you're not being intentional and looking at the time you're wasting.
Yeah. And I think relationships is an art, not a science. What I mean by that is that there's not like here's your formula for great relationships, because it's different. We have different people. We have different, and it takes time, and it takes a little bit of an ebb and flow. And I think what happens is we've become so formulaic in the things that we do because we're transactional. It's like, all right, we have to do this, this, and this, then we get this kind of return. And it's like, well, that's not relational. That's transactional. Relational is, hey, really, Jesus demonstrated relational.
With everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. He served, he loved first. It wasn't about what can I get from you, it was how can I serve you? And I think that's where we struggle a little bit today in our cultures, because we have become so transactional with the way that we interact with people. And then we are on our guard, because we're always, when someone's trying to be relational with us, we're kind of, what do they want, and what are they trying to, and I think it's also why sometimes it's difficult in small groups or life groups, is that people go in guarded, and so it's learning to find, and you don't have to be known deeply by everyone, but you need to be known deeply by at least a few.
Yeah, a few people.
And I think that's where people struggle, because there's a difference between transparency. There's a lot of people go, I'm transparency. I'm transparency. I'm transparent. Yeah. And I can, well, there's a difference between transparency and vulnerability. Yeah. The reality is we've lost the ability to be vulnerable with other people, which I love this. I heard someone give this definition. Transparency is, think of a knight in armor, or, a soldier, Roman soldier. They've got all their gear and whatever. And transparency is, I'll move my shield and let you see my weapons. But vulnerability is, I give you all my weapons and my protection and trust you not to hurt me with it. And I think the reality is that most of us struggle with vulnerability because we've been hurt before, and we go, I'll never do that again. Yeah. And the reality is that you're right. People are going to be people, and they're going to hurt you. But the reality is you got to figure out how to forgive. Jesus, the people who Jesus served and loved hurt him pretty deeply. Yeah. But yet he still loves us and continues to extend grace. Now that doesn't mean set yourself up, right? Forgiveness is a one-way street. Restoration is a two-way street. It takes two people. But anybody can forgive. It takes repentance for that relationship to be restored. So I'm not saying put yourself in a place to get just beat down. But what I am saying is that just because someone hurt you doesn't mean you can't trust yourself with someone else. Yeah. And the reality is that we need to. We've got to build those kind of relationships with our spouses, with our kids, with friends in our lives. We have to have
those relationships in our life.
But you have to be intentional. Mm-hmm. And those relationships happen over time. How often do we get people who go, yeah, I went to a small group a couple times. It just didn't work, right?
It takes time to develop those relationships. And plus the thing is you're going in and you're not being real.
Yeah.
And you don't trust, you don't know anybody. We live in that individualistic, was I reading that? Did we talk about that in one of our meetings or something? About we live in this individualistic society that doesn't trust anything or anybody. Does not trust the big systems. Don't trust the small systems. They don't trust. It was Way to Win.
Okay, yeah.
Way to Win.
It's a great book
by Jeff Little.
Doing that with the men's group right now.
And one of the things we don't trust the government. We don't trust the school district. We don't trust the church. We don't trust anybody.
Yeah.
Because everybody has messed us over. And so in order to protect us, we're just not going to trust anybody.
Yep.
And we're not going to let anybody in and give them the freedom to ask the questions of asking you how you doing, and you be real with them.
Yeah.
We need those relationships.
Yeah.
Not 200 of them,
Yeah.
but 2 of them, 3 of them
Yeah.
that
sure.
can do that.
So as we begin to think about this, if you were to say, hey, here are 3 areas that people need to be intentional, and here's what it looks like to be intentional with that. Well, what are, I'm just picking 3. It may be less, maybe more, but if you say, hey, regardless of what season you're in, are you being intentional with these areas of your life? What would you say those areas, and what does it look like to be intentional in those areas?
I think the very first is the relationship with God.
Yeah.
You have to be intentional in spending time with God and growing in that relationship with Him. That you spend time talking to Him, you spend time listening to Him, reading His Word, engaged in that growth. And when I say listening to Him, we talk about it all the time. We live in such a hurried world, in a busy world, and honestly, when we're busy, we think that adds value to our life.
Yeah.
And so being busy is what we long for. But in reality, we need to slow down and stop and listen to God and listen to that relationship, because He wants to talk to us. He wants to engage in that relationship with us. So that, for me, that would be the primary thing that you need to set aside that time. Not so you can check it off a box,
Right.
but how are you spending time with God on a consistent basis so He can speak into your life and encourage you.
So I want to give 2 resources for learning how to do that, because I mean, it's different for everyone where they are in their journey. And regardless of where you are, our grow classes are built to try to help encourage you or equip you, give you the tools you need to do just that, to learn what does it look like to spend time with God. If you haven't been through our grow 1, 2, and 3, there's 3 classes. They last a little bit over an hour. Typically we do it on Sunday morning during one of the services. You can find out about those through GF.Church/links. But go through one of those classes. Be intentional, right? It's an intentional decision. I know there's a lot of people who go, man, I need to do that sometime. It's not going to just happen. You're going to have to be intentional. Say, I'm going to, in 2026, I am going to do this. This is something I'm going to do, and you're intentional with it.
Whenever I think about that, I know that spending time with God was something that was modeled for me by my dad, but taught to me by my student pastor, BJ, first lead pastor here. So whenever I tell people that, sometimes I lose sight that they may have no clue what I'm talking about.
That's right.
And it's very simple, and it doesn't need to be overcomplicated.
Yeah.
But the Grow class is one of those ways that you can go to that class and just see the basic part of how to have a relationship with God.
Yeah, some practical tools. I think the other one that I talk about often, there's a lot of reading plans. We got some resources for reading plans, and I do one that I do every year. I love it. It's reading through the Bible. Yeah. That is not where most people need to start.
I'm doing that right now too, and I'm about 18 days behind, so I got to hurry up.
Well, it's, but I love the version that I do, and so I've just found something that really works for me. But it's probably not where the first year I did the 1-year reading plan, I crammed it into 2.5 years. I mean, you
finished.
But I finished, right? And so that being said, like I will tell you up front, like that's probably, but there's one called the first15.org. I think they even have an app you can download to your phone. I recommend this often. It's first15.org. Because it literally sets the table for you. It takes the thinking or questioning. Well, what does this mean? What is this?
Basically,
how to
learn as you go. It kind of tells you how to do this.
It walks you through it, and so I think it's a great place. I enjoy it, and when I say that, I'm not saying, hey, this is elementary. I'm saying it makes it simple, and regardless of where you are in the journey, I think it's very beneficial and useful tool. So I would encourage those 2. So be intentional with a relationship with God. What other area, or what does it look like to be intentional with the time that you have, regardless of what season you're in?
If you are married, you have to be intentional with that time. Married and family. And I think the best thing I did for my daughters growing up was have an amazing marriage.
Yeah.
That modeled for them. And so your marriage and your family needs to be that relationship that you're intentional on, and not. And I'm not taking away, because our girls played select soccer and stuff like that. I'm not against all that stuff, but if we're not careful, our investment in them is, like you said earlier, it's all about athletics. It's all about academics.
That for most of them will end when they graduate high school.
When they graduate from high school.
There might be a few who go beyond that. But if you look at the statistics,
Very few.
I know that everybody thinks their kid's the one that will, but most of the time it's not. And because a lot of times they're tired of it by then anyway.
By the time that happens, yeah. So I think, how can you be intentional in your time? Date your wife.
Yeah.
Date your kids. Spend time with them. Take them out to eat. Sit down with them. No matter what age they are, especially if they're younger, they probably would love to just go to McDonald's and eat. Then when they get a little older, they're kind of a little bit more picky. But be intentional in those relationships. Have the conversations. Ask them questions. Ask them about their day, and don't let them just say it was good.
Yeah,
it was good.
Oh, yeah.
Open-ended questions.
Hey, guess what? One time I asked Chat AI. I was like, "Hey, will you give me some questions to help with conversation with my kid when I ask him how his day is?" And he just says, "Good." They gave me like a list of questions to ask my kid, and they were great.
Were they really?
That helped draw. I was just like, I wonder what they'll give me, and they were great conversation starters. So I'm just saying, hey, there's more resources today for getting conversation going than.
I actually did that one day on my phone. I put on the notes open-ended questions.
Yeah.
And so when we sit down to eat a meal, I would ask those questions to the girls. And it was hilarious. They'd come back, I don't know, it was probably about 2 or 3 years ago. They came back and we're sitting around the table eating. And I took out my phone and I asked one of the questions. And it was, and immediately my oldest one goes, "Not again." she was so ready. She's like, let's not do this again.
Oh, that's so great. I love it. All right. So be intentional with those relationships at home. And then any other, like, we talk a lot about serving here. So when I think about being intentional, I would say we invite people to serve all the time here. Actually, let me go back to this. Dating your wife, I meant to say this. There were seasons where, like, we were literally paycheck to paycheck. And I want to say this, going on a date with your spouse does not mean you have to go out to eat and spend a lot of money. You can get creative. I remember there was a season where we had nothing, and we went on a picnic to a park, and I think we had sandwiches at this park, and it was a date, right? And it was the cheapest date we went on. And then actually this is so cheesy, dude. I don't even want to say this. I don't know why I went down this route.
You feel like it's going to be cheesy. Do you really want to say it?
Yeah. I took a sketch pad and I don't do, like, this shows that I understood my wife's
love language.
Love language is not my thing whatsoever. But I took a sketch pad and I was like, hey, let's both we have 10 minutes or more to sketch out one of our favorite memories together. And we had different whatever, and then we talked about it. And so I thought that was actually pretty good.
That's pretty good, dude.
I found those drawings the other day, and I was still embarrassed about how bad mine was. I'm not a drawer. So,
but it impacted her,
didn't it? But it was a date when we couldn't afford anything. So I guess what I'm saying is just, hey, you can think outside the box. It doesn't have to be, movie and out to eat and all this stuff that costs money. Like we figured it out in seasons where we couldn't do it.
Yeah. And I'd say the creative ones more that you think through that are more simple actually carry more weight than just saying, hey, let's go out to eat.
Yeah.
So.
But it's really about the conversation that happens when you're out there.
Yep.
So the last areas, though, that I want to hit real quick is serving. There's so many opportunities to serve. It takes close to 400 people each week to carry out the ministry here.
Over now.
Yeah, a little more than that to carry out the ministries here at Grace. But we don't ask people to serve because we need people in those roles. I believe God will provide. He's going to do that. We ask people to serve because it's the way that, number one, like people like Shiloh who poured into your kid, they're making a kingdom impact. Yeah. They're making a difference for eternity. Like the people who go, man, I know there's not much about my job. Well, I'm going to say this. God has you in your job for a reason, and if you're intentional with your time there, intentional with the mission God's put you on, and you ask him to show you how to be intentional with your time at work, he can do that. But then you're part of a church where you're invited in to do the ministry of the church. You were invited in. I didn't grow up in a church that was as easy as it is to serve here. But it's an easy way to get involved, to be intentional with your time, to make a difference for eternity, to steward your time well for God's kingdom.
When I talk to friends that are doing ministry and they're in a season of struggle, with their church, one of the things I ask is talk about their steps. What are their easy steps for people to get plugged in? And do you allow them to serve? And I think one of the things here I love is it's not just the adults.
Oh yeah,
it's students and it's even children in some capacity that get a chance to serve, and invest in. They maybe just serving a cup of coffee, but that makes a difference. You know, parking someone in the parking lot, that makes a difference, huge difference. And so I think it's really, to me, it's an investment. In maybe not a direct investment in a relationship, but you're allowing other people to have that direct impact and investment in a relationship where you may be leading to that at some point in your own walk.
So think about it this way. If God says, hey, I want your first and your best, your tithe, the first part of your first fruits of your resources financially, could it be that God is also asking us to give him a tithe of our time? Maybe not a true tenth of our time, but that we say, hey, regardless of what season I'm in, there's going to be part of my time that I'm giving back to God. I'm going to serve in some capacity, serve the church, serve ministry, because I feel as if this is my way of giving back to God from what he's given me. And once again, you don't get more time. You get what you get. So, because I think what I hear a lot is, we're just in a really busy season right now. You know what I've found? Every season's been a busy season. It's just it really just matters how you spend and how you utilize your time. So,
I definitely. I think you take that step, and I think one of the things it's easier when you look at Christmas coming up for us. We ask people, hey, you said yesterday, serve one, 10-1, serve one, or 2 or 3 or 4. But that's really, if you're not serving, that's a chance to take a step and say, okay, during the Christmas season, on our Christmas Eve services, I'm going to serve in some capacity and give it a shot and just see, and take that opportunity to invest.
Yeah. Here's the thing. You never know. Just like you took up those clocks yesterday they didn't know they're getting the clock, and they didn't know when they're going to get it taken away. The reality is you don't know when your season's coming and when your season's over. Yeah, there's some markers in life, but the reality is in most cases, we don't know when that season ends. And so utilize your time to the best of your ability, the time that God's given you. What any final thoughts you have as we wrap this up?
I think it goes back to me is if you don't feel like you're using your time the way you're missing out a little bit on the season you're in right now. You cannot go wrong by asking God. What do I need to do differently with this season? Because he'll tell you. Because he placed you there for a reason. And we even talked about it yesterday in the message. You may be in a terrible situation. You may be in a one that just you dread going to work, or you dread going home, or you dread thinking about going to Thanksgiving with your family, and asking God, okay, God, why? Why do you have me here? Because he has you there, and he's going to tell you. He'll tell you if you'll ask. And then you have a reason. And it may be a long time, it may be a short time, but you do have that window, because once it's over, my girls, when they were in elementary school, that's over. As much as I would love to go back, I'm not going back there. And that once that season's over, it's over, and you're on to the next season. Not to make you feel guilty or anything like that because you missed an opportunity, but instead of looking back and say, man, I wish I would have, God, what do you want me to do now? How can I utilize this season right now to impact these people, this person, for eternity?
In this season, God, what do you want me to do with it? With the time that you give me? Well, I'm grateful that you joined us today. I hope that you'll take a little bit of a time audit in your own life and just say, God, what do you want me to know about the time that you've given me? Am I using it well? If I'm not, how do I better utilize it in the season that may be tough? God, what do you want me to do in this season? God, I know you have me here for a reason. Or maybe a season that you go, no, it's actually not that tough. This is fun. How do you want me to utilize this season to build your kingdom? Because remember, stewardship, what we said at the very beginning is that the heartbeat of stewardship, it's managing everything that God has given you for God's purpose and his glory. I hope you utilize it well. We'll see you next week.